from before. Welcome everybody this morning. And like Kishore just said, I will be with you approximately 1 hour. Please don't fall asleep on me. I cannot see your faces, so you will be observing me. And like she said, you can put comments in the chat line, or you can ask me questions on the Q&A. Both she and I will be monitoring that to make sure that whatever you have to say or the questions that you ask me, that they will get addressed. But I'd like to do that more at the towards the end. So maybe I'll talk for about 45 minutes and keep 15 minutes for open chats and discussions from you. Okay, so my subject today is, there we go, share, toolkit for a self-empowered job search. And while, what qualifies me to speak on this subject, apart from being an executive coach for big corporations here in Canada and the USA, I teach at Centennial College, and I teach a subject that I absolutely love. And I've been teaching this for 7 years, and I don't think I will ever give it up until the college tells me, you gotta retire, something like that. But my subject is employment and career preparedness. And if you follow me on LinkedIn, it's just Rosemary Fernandez. If you Google, search my name, you will see many, many posts that I put in there that help job search, help you in your job search. So, and a lot of my students, they really do get out there and find that job of their dreams. What I can give you in the short time that I'm with you together is a toolkit. Toolkit is some of the tips and tricks or techniques that you can use for your job search. So my intention this morning is for you to learn and be able to apply tools to get hired for the job of your dreams. So if you start thinking about, as I speak, what is that job that I really want? The job of my dreams. And that's the one I'm going to go for. And that's the one you're going to aspire to get employed in. So first and foremost, they say failing to plan. If you don't plan, is planning to fail. You don't want to fail. You want to get that job. And for some of you, it could be your first time job or your second job or the career job. There's some you are at different stages in your employment scenario. So you have to decide, so where do I really want to work? Which are the companies out there that I would be proud to say I'm employed by them? You make a list of those. Where do you want to work? Maybe it's a geographic region, not just a company. So you have geographic region, companies, department, and position. 4 things when you're looking at where do you want to work. Then you start looking at, okay, this is what I'm qualified to do. This is what I enjoy doing. Okay, if you love what you do and you do what you love, the money will follow. So you identify companies that need your kind of qualifications, your kind of experience, your kind of knowledge, and then get a hold of somebody that's in there. You can Google, you can go on LinkedIn, which is the biggest connection social media gift that we have, and speak to somebody. People are happy to give you an information interview and ask them things like, so what's it like working? You can go to the career section of the website of that company and you will find whatever vacant jobs they have. You can take a look at also what kind of people they want, what kind of people work in this organization. And then you connect with somebody, you have an information meeting with the person that works in that company. And don't forget, in addition to having your profile, I talk about LinkedIn so much, you register on all the different career sites that these organizations have so that you get information, you get notified when they do have a vacancy. So what I'd like to do is first be talking about the resume, and I just been talking about LinkedIn so much. So can I just see a show of hands? You can do a show of hands by using the emoji button, or you can put it in the chat line. How many of you already, how many of you already have a resume? How many of you already have a resume? 9 participants out of my, oh, okay, let 10, okay, 50% already have a resume. Okay, great. So do you have your, if you have, it would be worthwhile you having your resume out in front of you, because as I speak, you can start looking at it from the point of view of what I am suggesting. Okay. Thank you for sharing. So just remember that your resume has to pass a 10-second test. So your resume is like your advertisement. Okay. Your resume, you look at it for 10 seconds, and if it doesn't meet the visual criteria, guess what? It gets filed under G. So when you're planning your job search, you have to think of yourself like a product, okay? Like when you go into the grocery store and you see, let's say we all eat cereal. So you look at a box, you want to buy cereal. And you see, oh my goodness, there's so many different flavors and varieties and companies and so on. So how do you decide which box of cereal to attack? So you will be attracted to the most colorful, maybe the brand name, Kellogg's, Post, whatever. And you say, okay, wow, this looks really good. And then you will look for the ingredients, what's in there. And if the ingredients don't match what you are willing to pay for, you're not going to buy it. Or it's too expensive or whatever. In the ingredients, it's not sugar-free, it's not gluten-free, doesn't have fiber, whatever. If it doesn't match what you are willing to pay for, you're not going to buy it. It's the same thing with you. If the ingredients do not match the need of the organization, or if your ingredients in your resume do not solve a problem for the company, they are not going to buy it. So as you're doing that, you have to think about, so what kind of format am I going to use? So the resume, what's the purpose of the resume? Can anyone tell me in the chat now? What's the purpose of the resume? I got it here on the slide anyway, but the resume is your first introduction to the interviewer, to the company. Okay, they don't like what they see, they don't want to buy it. So it's your calling card. They don't like what they see on your resume. It tells a lot about you, like how you've done the formatting. Are there spelling mistakes? Is it not properly aligned? Is there too much information? Does it look like all ants crawling in there? Okay, so generally speaking, you may ask me, how long should the resume be? For those under like a rule of thumb I use with my students is that if you have maybe, let's say, under 5 years of experience, then you could have a 1-pager. If you have more than 5 years, you can have a 2-pager. But remember that the resume doesn't get you the job. The resume gets you the interview. Okay? Your intention when you're doing a resume is to get the interview, not the job. Okay, so don't jump the process by thinking, oh, the resume is going to get me. No, focus on the resume as it's gonna, I got to get him to read this or her, him or her, to read this and call me for an interview. They got to say, wow, I've never seen anything like this. These qualifications are precisely what we need. Okay. So some points that you put in your resume got to be pleasing and a professional layout. Where do you get these pleasing and professional layouts? You can get it on Word, and there are lots of websites that can be used that give you free layouts. Okay, and you can get ideas about, so is this resume going this format, the way it looks? Is it me? Don't make it out of character and put multicolors on there and those kinds of things. Is it me? Is it precise? Is it short? Is it sweet? And is it going to put me in the best light so that they're going to want to buy these ingredients, these skills, these competencies, so that they can be part of what the organization has to offer? Because what you do for them and they pay you for is what eventually lands into the customer's plate. So the end result, what you do is profit. The end result of your performance is profit for the company. And so it's the customer in the end that's going to enjoy your efforts, the efforts from your skills, experience, education, knowledge, etc. So your resume has to be eye candy. Got to look good. You know, don't lie or exaggerate. Even though, I mean, I do, you have sites on the internet that are free where you can pull out verbs, more appropriate verbs that better describe what it is you do. So begin each point with a verb. Focus on your strengths and your accomplishments. I want to spend a little more time talking about this. Focus on your strengths and your accomplishments. So they even have free sites where you can take your resume and you can compare it to the job description. And it will tell you if you qualify 50% or 60% or 40%. If you don't qualify with your skills and experience for up to 80 to 85%, then don't apply for the job, because then you're underqualified. But certainly, if it's a job of your dreams, you can take a look at that and say, oh, okay, this is what they need and I don't have it. That means I've got to go and acquire it. Either I take a course or I take a part-time job or I get some experience, but I need to acquire this in order to get my dream job. Focusing on your strengths is what you're really good at. Okay, you're good at selling. You increase profits by 20%. So in your accomplishments, it must be quantifiable. I increased profits by 20%. Most of the customers, I have 0 customer complaints. Okay, it's very customer oriented, the market right now, but there could be that as a result of my innovations, I save 5% of expenses. Those kinds of things, they like to see the numbers. And you need to do your resume at least, you need to do a new one for every job you apply. You can't have a generic one and say, okay, here I go, 200 addresses I have, I'll send it. And then when you get no reply, you wonder why. No, it's not mass produced. And it's not like, what do you call these foods? No label products or whatever like that, okay? It's not, you have to customize your resume and your cover letter pertaining to the job. Because when it goes electronically into the customer's inbox, guess what happens to it over there? They sort it out based on the language you have used. And if you haven't used the words that come from the job posting onto your cover letter and your resume, it gets filed under J. J is not for joy, J is for junk. It gets filed there and nobody ever looks at it, even though you may be highly skilled and qualified. So your resume, it's a communication tool. The first communication tool that you have between yourself and the employer. So when we talk about communication, we're talking about words and we're talking about presentation skills. I will talk about your personal presentation skills in a minute, but the resume is also part of how you present. Okay, so make sure that you spell check it, you have the proper fonts, you have the proper formatting, colors. Don't make it too loud and too colorful unless it's if it's some kind of advertising job or somewhere where you have to show that you're very creative, you can always put a portfolio addendum. But keep your resume nice, clean, neat, lots of white space, not like all ant scrolling, okay? And they recommend different fonts, of course, the most common being Calibri. Then you can use Arial, you can use Times Roman. And when I say about colors that you use on the headings, you can use black, bold, you can use navy blue, bold. But if you want to just throw in a bit of color, maybe there's some heading in there, but even a deep red is allowed. Okay, so you keep it to 2 pages or less, as I mentioned. And here we go, no need of fanciness. Things that you don't do. In Canada, we don't use photographs. You don't need any of the personal information like date of birth, where you were born. I even suggest there's no need to mention how many or what languages you speak, unless it is a requirement of the job. Okay? Unless it's a requirement of the job, no need to put the languages you speak. And you don't put the names of references in your resume. However, because your resume is a story, it starts with your name. I don't recommend even putting in an address. You're not inviting the interviewer over to your place for dinner. You want them to contact you for an interview, right? So you can just put, if you want, if it's like Toronto, Ontario, if you feel comfortable, but even that's not necessary. People get that from your LinkedIn profile. So you will put your email address, your telephone number, and your LinkedIn profile URL. That's it. Also, one other tip that I really share with my students to make your resume look different, because that's what you want. You want your resume to look different from everybody else's. So I strongly, strongly recommend that you find a quotation, or you make up a quotation that maybe reflects a value of your life or is a mantra in your life. A very common one, and that's why I don't recommend to use it, but I'm just saying as an example. There's this one, it's not what you say, and it's not what you do, but it's all about how you make people feel. It's a common Maya Angelou quotation. And so you put a nice quotation on the top, and then you put, this comes after your name and your address, you put a line, and then you put your little quotation. One student of mine told me that the interviewer liked his quotation so much, that's how he got the job, because it was a reflection of his values. Okay? And so, and then you can put down your information, your career objective, your education. For those of you, it's your first time job, you're new to Canada, I strongly recommend that after you put your career objective, you put your education, you may be enrolled in some local college or doing a program. It shows that you're integrating into the Canadian culture. Okay. And then you can put down your experience, your volunteer experience, anything that's of interest. And at the end, you don't put names of references, but you put a line to complete the story. There's your name, and the end says, you can verify all this. References are available upon request. So they can request it after when they're doing, they say you're one of 2 candidates, can you give us, so then you know you're being considered for the job, and then you will release your reference request. Okay, no questions, nothing in the chat. So I'm assuming everybody is keenly listening to me. So the next stage, now you've done the resume and you got the interview. How exciting is that? You must prepare for the interview. Okay, an interview is a presentation. It's an in the middle, right? Resume, view in the middle, and then you get the job. So it's about you, how you exchange information, how you sell yourself, okay? And you also, it's a two-way street, how you learn about a prospective employer. So how do you prepare for the interview? As I mentioned earlier, like your dream job. Hopefully this is a company that you really, really want to work for, but you must, for one of the first questions they ask you in the interview, so what do you know about our company? Why do you want to work here? How is it going to add to career if you were employed by us? So you have to research the company, okay? You have to write your answers. You have to practice and practice and practice, and then polish your image, your own image, how you look, how you appear, how are people going to see me? And everybody, don't ever wear a t-shirt, whether it's a virtual interview or a face-to-face interview. For the guys, wear something with a collar, okay? And for the gals, you can wear a nice blouse and a skirt or trousers, okay? But all nice, neat and clean. I strongly recommend that if you can get a hold of a jacket, to wear a jacket for an interview. Remember, you've got to put your best self out there, okay? So you wear a jacket just for the interview. It doesn't mean that you have to wear a jacket every day on the job. Get dressed, wear the interview nice, clean, nicely ironed, make it light colors so that you can breathe when you're in the interview. You're stressed, so you're perspiring. You want your clothes to breathe so that there's no bad odors that's gonna come from your nervousness, okay? So when I'm saying all of this to you, okay, packaging, how you package yourself. And these days we are using other words more than packaging, is your branding. So your resume and the way you appear for the interview is your branding. That's what you represent. You're clean, neat, tidy, you're comfortable. That's your branding. I always say that every interviewer, every company wants to hire people that have a high level of energy. So when you're coming in for the interview, you could probably have to look like you just stepped out of a fitness center, out of exercising. You're all revved up to go. You're high energy. Hi, how are you? Smile, because you've come to sell yourself. You haven't come to face, you're not attending a funeral. So no need of the nervous, sad face. Smile, show yourself. Hi, I'm here. Body language is also important, whether it's a virtual interview or face-to-face. Show your hands when you speak so that you can convey better. Body language is so important. Have eye contact, okay? And the face has to say, I'm happy to be here. It's another experience. I remember these interviews, I tell my students, and they laugh at me, that every interview you go for is a dress rehearsal for the most appropriate job. So you can take the tension off of, oh my God, I've got to get this job, I'm going for the interview. No, it's a process. It's also a kind of numbers game. The more people that become aware of you, the more you prepare, the more you're out there, the more interviews you're going to get, and you're going to find out that not all interviews, even if it was the greatest interview and somebody gives you a job offer, it may not be the job you really want, but at least you're going out and finding out, and you're practicing, and you see what works and what doesn't work, okay? So packaging is 45%. How you respond is 35%. And miscellaneous other stuff is 10%. So which of these three are under your control? Can you share with me in the chat line? What can you control? Hello? This packaging? Okay, we have share with me in the chat line. Oh, Keisha, 3 people have raised their hand. I don't mind if they can speak to me.
Hey, Rosemary, I think they had their hands raised when you were taking the tally for the resume
Oh, I
question.
see, and I only see it now. Sorry.
No
So
problem.
thank you. I have Amanda and I have Sabina. Amanda says branding is in your control. Very good. Sabina says packaging, responsiveness. Okay, correct. It's in your control. Packaging, responsiveness, Janani. Amanda, we have control on our resumes and how we present ourselves. And Carol also says packaging. Of course. So I'm so happy to see these responses, because the success in the end of the interview, even if you don't get the job, it doesn't mean you failed at anything, right? The success of the interview is totally your responsibility. Everything is, it's the amount of effort you put into something, that's what you're going to get out of it. And that's no pain, no gain, right? And I just want to share another one of my philosophies, is that one of my coaching philosophies, that failure is not the name of an individual. Although we use this terminology, I'm such a failure, or she's such a failure, or I'm so stupid, those negative words are not in your vocabulary, because failure is only a situation. It's not you. Okay? You fail at a situation. But I would really say that it's only a situation. And mistakes, I don't use that word in my vocabulary. Mistakes are only another chance for an opportunity to learn. So it just means that, okay, I didn't get that job. They know better. I'm not going to fit in there. Would you like to get a job where you don't fit and you're miserable for 9, maybe 10 even hours a day, and then you've got to start looking for another job? No, you want to be in the right place at the right time. So you're going to give out your best. And so when you do get that rejection letter, or no, you're not qualified, or sorry, right now we decided we would hire something else or do something else, it's them really saying that we didn't find a fit. It does not say that you're not a good person. It does not say that you're not qualified for the job market. It does not mean any of those things. It only means that you personally did not fit with the requirements of the organization, and just say, wow, thank goodness, otherwise I might get a job where I don't fit, and then you're miserable. And then how are you going to get out of there? You don't want to get out of there. So think about the interview. You got the interview, you prepare for the interview, you give the interview, and then you follow up on the interview. So now we've talked about researching of the company, right? What do you need to know? They will ask you, what do you know about the company? What do they sell? How long have they been in business? Where all are they located? Like, I had forgotten that ACCESS is located in 7 locations. So that reinforced today as I was listening to you, Kisha. And that's something I can share with my students, that ACCESS, and sometimes my clients, that you have 7 locations to help people find the job of their dreams, hopefully, or to get started with employment. Okay, how many people they hire. Look at also how they treat the employees. Do they have some corporate services? Do they do something special? Do they have initiatives for diversity and inclusion? Do they have initiatives for women? Do they have special programs? Do they recognize and reward their employees? Do they mention employee of the month or employee of the year? Those kind of things will tell you, hey, that's the kind of place I want to work. Okay. Where will you get all of this information? Freely available. Nothing's private anymore. Even for me. Everybody knows everything about me. I write on LinkedIn. I put something on Facebook. Now there's Instagram. Instagram, and then there's Twitter, and there are some new ones, TikTok, and hey, it's just full. Nothing is sacred anymore. I go and I Google, I'm looking for something. The next thing you know, I'm getting all these ads every time I open my phone to make a call. So nothing is private, everything. So you also have to be careful what you post on your social media because they look at it. Employers look at it. Okay, so did you know this? How many of you knew this? Just put a yes or a no in the chat. Okay, so Samina says, yes, she knew this. Janani says, yes, she knew this. Yeah, 75% of the interview is based on your appearance and how well you present yourself. It's not based on the words that you use. They already know you have a university degree or you have a certificate or you have no experience or you have experience. Okay, it's on your resume. They're looking for, are you going to fit? So use the words, the jargon words that are appropriate for the job, the skills you're looking for. And I also, I got lots more response. Sorry, I stopped there. People saying yes, they know this. So it's using the right words. And the giveaway is you've come in, remember, you look like you're full of energy. You're dying to work. You can't wait to get started. Hi, good morning. I'm so-and-so. Nowadays, because of COVID, we don't shake hands, but maybe we do an elbow or we don't do anything, but we smile. It's very warm. It's very inviting. I'm here to tell, it should say, even without you opening your mouth, I'm here to tell you about myself, right? And then they tell you the standard question. Always find out who is going to interview you, one person or many people, so you know their names beforehand. So you'll say, good morning, Mr. So-and-so, good morning, Ms. So-and-so, whatever. And you're smiling and you sit down and they say, oh, welcome. And they ask you your question. So tell me about yourself, or why did you apply for this job? You must start the interview on the right note, Canadian etiquette. You start the interview on the right note. And so you're smiling, your appearance, your clothing, on the right colors, you're groomed, you're manicured, pedicured, all of this stuff. And you start the interview by thanking the interviewer. That before I start to speak, or I'd like to start by thanking you for giving me the opportunity to be here and for me to be considered for this job. Say that first thing. That way you've won their hearts. You've connected with them like this with the first sentence, right? And then you will start to say about your qualifications and your aspirations. Keep it 3 sentences. It's kind of like your elevator pitch. Okay, tell me about yourself. Don't focus on, well, I am. By the way, don't start with I am your name because they already know your name. They interview you. They got the resume in front. So don't waste your time. I am. They know that. Say, well, it's a delight to be here. And what I would like you to know about myself really is that I have a background in blah, blah, blah. And I have so many years experience. But most importantly, remember, you're like that box of cereal in the grocery store. You want them to know at the outset, that first question they ask you, tell me about yourself. You want to give them a minimum of 3 things that they are willing to pay for, or 3 things that's going to help them solve the problem. So your first 3 things are, you would tell them, so really, I'm educated, whatever, I got my degree, I have experience, but really what I have to offer you are these 3 things. See my body language. Number 1, I can, blah, 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 blah. Number 2, I learn quickly. I am curious, I ask questions, I don't waste time. And number 3, I am just a favorite of attention to detail, And so I make sure that when I submit my work, that it complies with exactly what my boss is looking for or what the team is looking for. You can say so many things. I am really good at communication. I ask a lot of questions. I get along with my teammates. There's so many wonderful things you can say, but make sure you go like this. I am blah. I am 2 and I am 3. Now you've got them on your side. You say with energy, they go, wow, exciting. These are 3 things that we can pay for. Okay, let's ask more questions. We want to know this person some more. Okay. So that first question, I'm not telling you to look like this guy, but it's just an example, okay, of what you wear. This is too formal. Maybe if it's a director level job or higher in the winter, this looks fine. But it's more just to say, to be color coordinated, to be neat, to be clean. And of course, we all know that, hey, what's the first thing that people look at in another person? And people will say your face or your smile or your hairstyle. No, the way our eyes normally work, our eyelids work, we go from the ground up. So we look at the shoes, must be nice and clean. Okay, they don't have to be expensive, but nice clean shoes. For men, the shoes should match your trouser. And for women, never wear an open-toed shoe for an interview, always a closed-toed shoe. Okay, and be conservative. And in Canada, we're very smell conscious. So you don't want to smell of food, and neither do you want to smell of colognes or perfumes. Most workplaces also say we are perfume free. So that's out of the question. So this part about the attention, the interviewer's attention should be focused on what you say and what it is you have to offer them that they're willing to pay for. They don't want to be distracted by big bongy earrings, so wear simple earrings, okay? Don't wear loud jewelry that clangs. And the same with the guy, avoid wearing a red tie, very distracting. Politicians wear red ties because they want you to look at them. When you go for an interview, simple, maybe the tie, just if you're wearing a blue trouser or blue tie, if you manage to get a blue blazer, that's even nicer, okay? But something that's not too loud, not too, that doesn't distract the employer from asking you questions, okay? So here we go. Here's a list of stuff. Conservative colors, pumps with small, medium, don't have to wear big stiletto heels. Hair is neat and clean. I always suggest that you go on the internet and take a look at pictures of people in the workplace. What do they wear? How is their hair? What do they, what do they look like? Remember, make your hairstyle, both men and women. In the workplace, it's conservative. So you don't want to look like, unless you are going to work for an entertainment industry or something like that. So it all has to go together. And, your hairstyle, your hair color. Men have it easier than the women because men learn from their fathers to have their hair groomed regularly, to have a shave every day or every second day or so on. But with women, is take a look at hairstyles that are acceptable in the workplace and be nice, clean, tidy, okay? Be groomed. Women's grooming includes, even if you don't wear makeup, look attractive, put a little lipstick on at least, okay? Not too loud, not like you're going for a party or anything like that. So you start the interview. The opening is very important, right? First impressions, last impressions. It's the first 5 seconds that create impact. Once you've sold yourself, right? That first impression and the first 5 seconds, you got it made. Then you got your interviewers interested in you. I would refrain from maybe trying to tell a joke or something like that, just in case the joke doesn't go over too well. You forget the punchline. But contents of interviews, storytelling has become a big thing. So even when you say, tell me about yourself, and you told those three things, they are going to pick one of those three things and say, okay, I'm really interested. You said you're really good with people. So can you tell us about a time where you didn't get along with somebody, and did you resolve it or did you not resolve it? So you have to be prepared with stories about your strengths and stories on the other side too. So you might ask me, okay, but what happens if they ask me about weaknesses? Well, we don't use that word anymore, whether in our terminologies of interviewing, it's not weaknesses, it's more areas of development. So they may ask you a question, if you were to get this job, where do you think you would need the most help? Aha. Okay. Don't, so look at your development. Not that I've been very weak in this. And, sometimes my students tell me, I come late to work. Don't pick those kinds of things. Okay. Pick an area of development that I need more experience. I hope in my 3 months probation, I will pick up the job like this. So you're saying something that you need development, but then you're also telling them how you are going to do it. Okay. And so you must make your stories to fit accordingly. People love listening to stories. So when you tell them, in my experience, this happened, that happened, and so on. Right, Slavika, I like the 89 to 90% of jobs are found through networking and personal connections. So you wanted me to say, I agree. So you got to network, whether it's on LinkedIn, join networking associations, okay, get to know people. The more you make yourself aware that you're out there, the more referrals and recommendations you can get. Look at your friends' LinkedIn connections and say, oh, I'd like to meet that person. Write them a note, say, please introduce me to such and such person. Make information meetings of your own in the companies that you'd like to work in. So I hope that helps you with that answer before I move on. And so you've given the interview, you've made your stories. If you need where you can learn on the internet is the STAR method. I'm sure a lot of you already know the STAR method. So it's the situation, task, S for situation, T for task, A for action, R for the results you got. Make sure that you always give the results that ended up positively, even if it was something that didn't end in your mind positively. But so what did you learn from that? So even that is a positive reaction to having done something. Maybe you as I said, I don't talk about failure and mistakes, but maybe you tried something and the outcome wasn't what you were expecting. Okay, what did I learn from that? So now, okay, I'll do it a second time. What do I eliminate from there? Okay. So the wrap up. You've done the interview, and what's the wrap up all about? Wrap up is saying, how do I say goodbye? And so when you wrap up, you got to make sure, even if you felt the interview didn't go very well, you got to look again happy, energized, excited, because the interviewer has already forgotten what you look like when the interview first started. It's gone down the memory, but they will remember that last picture of you. Okay, so again, look, thank you so much for giving me your time. Thank you for having me. The job sounds really interesting, and I will be looking forward to the next stage in the process. Ta-da! Okay, look good, because that's what they're going to remember when they're going to sit down and make that assessment of you. So what makes a poor impression? Your personal appearance, your attitude, no energy, lack of interest, you didn't prepare. Okay, and there are lots of videos, and I'm sure ACCES helps you with, so how to, interview questions. Some of them are hilarious. People will be talking on their cell phone in the middle of an interview, and then you ask them a question and they're, oh, I never thought about that. So I don't have an answer for that question. That should never happen. Okay. And this bit, here's your STAR method. Failure, you give concrete examples of anything you say you have done. Don't talk about money. Don't talk, they ask you, so where do you see yourself in 5 years? Usually say you find me in your organization, in a higher level. I hope to get a promotion, and that's where you will see me in 5 years. Again, how do we look in our body language? Leaning forward, okay, shows interest. Smiling, that you're friendly, you're a good communicator. Your arms are open, you're relaxed, not like this, like you're sitting, oh my God, I'm gonna die. Don't look like that in an interview. Your feet are down flat on the floor, no cross legs, okay, no cross knees. Nod when you're listening, and when you ask your question, you nod, oh yeah, that's a great question. You can even say that to them, oh, I love that question. Here's my answer, and they go, okay, they're prepared, they know what they're gonna say. Eye contact, very important. A lot of us are very shy, and how you can practice your eye contact is by looking at yourself in the mirror every day and giving gratitude. Wow, I'm healthy, I can see, and you have eye contact. Remember that if you can't have eye contact with you, you can't have eye contact with anybody else. Some things that you don't do, hey, your phone, don't talk ill of people or the previous employers, don't be sitting, too laid back, don't interrupt the interview and say, but no, you're wrong in what you're saying, okay? Don't breach confidentiality, and don't answer with yes or no. They want to know a whole story, don't lie. Whoop, I went too fast there, okay, there we go. You don't ask about holidays, and you might ask me, so if they ask me, so what are your salary expectations? You can answer that very politely by saying, actually, you are such a reputed organization. I am sure that you will pay me according to the company's compensation policy. But you will soon realize after the probationary period that I am one of your most valued employees. And at that time, you can adjust my salary. That's it. Don't give figures. Okay. STAR method again, STAR, look at it on the internet. And so, you can ask these kinds of questions. What would a typical assignment be on this job? What kind of training? Is this a new job? Will I overlap with the previous person that's done the job? What's the next step in the process? Okay. And thank the interviewer, but with the same smile, like, wow, I would love to work for you. How do you follow up the interview? Always send a thank you note. Okay, you can do an email, you can send a little card, but it all depends on each individual. Keep a log of all your interviews, where you go, who you speak to, and each interview, look at it as a learning opportunity, as an information meeting. If they want you to be part of their cohort, they will let you know. All right, so it's no magic. It's something that's learned, how to interview. And the more you practice, the more you will improve yourself. Whoops, sorry. I didn't mean to stop the sharing, but I do believe that I am at the end of my presentation. There we go.
Beautiful. Thank you, Rosemary. So I do see that we have some questions coming in.
Okay.
Do you want me to read them out to you?
Sure. Change your voice.
No problem. Okay, so Slavica would like to know, they've said 80 to 90% of jobs are found through networking and personal connections, are not advertised. How do you comment on something like this?
Well, I did kind of allude to it when I was speaking. It's true. So you have to network. You have to join associations, organizations, go for networking meetings, look at LinkedIn. I would say statistics on LinkedIn is showing that 70% of jobs are advertised on LinkedIn, and most people get hired on LinkedIn. So your LinkedIn profile is your selling feature nowadays. That's the connection, social media connection. So I would say work on your LinkedIn profile, okay? And that's where recruiters go to find people. Even companies go on LinkedIn. I know several people that have got jobs or approached through LinkedIn, okay? All right, next question.
All right. So in order to pay my bills, I am also applying for jobs that I end up being refused for since I am overqualified. Of course, I do tailor all my resumes to individual jobs that I'm applying for and have learned to omit my graduate degrees, as I worked as an advisor, a TA, course instructor, college instructor, and a prof. But this leaves me with gaps in my resume. How do we account for that?
Other gaps, I would need to know more. If the gaps are because these are all part-time jobs, I would just call them part-time jobs, right? So then the reader can see that you've had a bunch of different experiences, okay? And the gaps really don't matter. Like adjunct prof and advisor and course instructors, college instructor, these are all more like teaching jobs. So you would put them in like they are contract jobs or part-time jobs. So it's expected that there would be gaps. And you would use those only as it relates. So you would put the heading instead of experience or work experience. I usually like to put related experience or related accomplishments. And so you're only saying those things that pertain to the job. So then the gaps don't matter, right? When you're writing the accomplishments, I would make sure that they are not only quality, you use the right words to say what you do, but also in quantity. I taught MBA students. Most 20% of my students find employment, gainful employment in the future 2 years. Those kinds of things, success at what you teach, success at what you do as an instructor, that will get looked at more than the gaps. Does that answer, Savika? You just put yes in the chat if it did.
All right. While we're waiting for that, thank you for this informative web seminar, Rosemarie. I recently had a job list at one of the major banks call center. The employer said I was not a good fit. Although I have over 8 years call center and customer service experience, I struggled with navigating many computer systems, although I have experience doing this. It impacted my confidence. However, I'm hoping to secure a new job in a call center banking industry. Are there any affordable or free computer training part-time courses in Excel, Outlook, or PowerPoint?
Actually, Carol, I can't help you with that. I'm also looking for free computer training myself. But you can Google, and I think Kisha at ACCES, can somebody help her with this?
Yeah, potentially. So Carol, if you'd like, you can reach out to one of our 7 offices to see if we do have any. I know we offer LinkedIn Learning, which may be beneficial for you in Excel, Outlook, or PowerPoint, but even YouTube has some really great free videos that you can use for training.
I forgot about YouTube. YouTube has plenty of stuff on interviews and how to answer questions, how to answer STAR method, how to answer tell me about yourself, how to answer what are your strengths, all those questions that I just asked you. The other big thing that my students use, and I don't know if ACCES can gain access to this, but we use Big Interview. Big Interview is an app. It costs an individual $99. I don't know how it costs an organization, But you can practice on big interview and it records everything and gives you feedback. That's the most important thing. You know, it gives you feedback on everything, how you look, how your eye content, did you use body language, how many R's and ums and all of that stuff did you do. Big Interview is a great app and for practicing, and a lot of companies are using it for hiring people, you know.
Beautiful.
Next question.
Would you please present the first slice about the interview?
Do you want the first slide or the first slice for us?
Oh yeah, first slide probably.
So, you know, you give them a copy of this. It doesn't matter to me.
Yes, so this will be posted on our YouTube channel so that you guys can go through the webinar again if you need to. Okay, this was very informative. Thank you. I would like to ask you what your thoughts are on ATS scanners and resumes that need to be tailored according to those. Also, your thoughts on resumes that have graphics and stats, yes or no?
Well, you have to remember that we are in the age of technology. So how employers look at resumes and how they screen them could be automated or it could be human. So you have to cater for that. That's why you use words that are in the job posting. But when you use the words that are in the job posting, the ATS picks it up, ta-da, it doesn't reject it. I like graphics. Stats for sure should be on a resume. But the graphics has to be very limited because unless you're doing advertising, or branding or some kind of that kind of job, but I would limit the graphics. Okay, I wouldn't even put logos of companies that you worked in on the resume. So when it takes up space, okay, so I would avoid that. Okay, next question, anonymous attendee.
All right. You did answer Slavika's question, by the way, so she said yes. Do you think interviewers see parenting breaks as a hurdle? I have quite a long break and I think I will be skipped over when I apply.
All right. That question comes up a lot. It's not a hurdle anymore. If you can demonstrate in your resume and in your interview that during that time you learned so much, you did some other things, whatever, even if you didn't take a course. But yes, it gave me time to think what I really want to do and enjoy. And that's why I applied for this job, because it's something that I think I could spend 8, 9, 10 hours a day in. Then they say, okay, she's got passion, you know, so it will not be skipped over. If a company feels that you're going to be an asset to them, your gaps and your breaks for maternity leave and stuff just doesn't count.